Good evening, everybody. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. So we're here to talk about complete streets. We've got the fabulous team from Alta here to discuss these complete streets program for Stratford Center. Alta has worked on projects just like this all over the country and internationally, so we're very lucky to have them here working with the town. So Alta will basically be working as a consultant with the town, and tonight they're going to be explaining to us what complete streets are and how a well-conceived plan can really contribute to the public realm here in the town of Stratford. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It's with your input and participation that we're really able to make more educated and effective long-range planning decisions here for the town. So please welcome the team of Alta.
Thanks, Jay. I don't know how I'm going to do this with two hands, but I'll give it a shot. My name is Tom Tavella. I'm actually a resident in Orange. Grew up in Milford. So even though we do work all over the country, hey George, and all over the place, I am a local guy, so I know your town pretty well. And tonight what we're trying to do is really just set the tone for what we're going to be doing in the future, which is really coming up with your design for your downtown and how do we implement complete streets in the downtown. And we're going to go through that, and I want to make sure you guys really understand we have no preconceived notion of what this should be. It's going to come from you, and you'll hear later on in the evening we're going to talk about a workshop that we're going to do, which we hope that you're all there and participating and rolling up your sleeves and actually drawing along with us. We feel that's the best way to get all the public input we can on these types of projects. So for tonight, we're going to just talk about the objective. A little slow on this stuff, so I'll just keep on going. We're going to talk a little bit about the objectives of tonight. What is a complete street? Pedestrian facilities and how they work within a complete street. Long-term improvements. How you do traffic calming. And then how you put all these elements together. And we're going to need a little bit of your help, not only from tonight on until the workshop, but also what our next steps are moving forward with the project. Well, at least that one worked. So the objectives: increase connectivity with residential and commercial destinations, support multi-modes of transportation, and improve accessibility, safety, and foster healthy lifestyles. That's the real key about complete streets, is we want people to get out, use your bike, walk, use your car, use public transportation, and we want all these things to blend together so you have a nice balanced street. This is I don't know why this is not. There you go. This is a great quote from Fred Kent from Projects from Public Places. If you plan for cars and traffic, you get cars and traffic. If you plan for people and places, you get people and places. And that's really the emphasis that we want to do today, is talk about how do we turn your streets into places for people and really get your character of your community into your downtown area. And the project area that we're looking at is basically a half-mile radius from the train station, and then we kind of expand it out up to Paradise Green, and then up through Nichols Ave, because we feel like there's a lot of potential of getting the residents on those streets to get down into the downtown. I'm going to plug this in because I don't know why this is not coming up. Well, maybe I just have to do it a couple times. We'll see. So the definition of a complete street is safe, comfortable, and convenient for travel by foot, bicycle, transit, automobile, and for anybody, no matter what their abilities are. So that's the basis of what we're going to be doing with this project. double hits, I guess, is going to be tonight. So why do we need complete streets? 55% of Americans would prefer to drive less and walk more. 45% of the older Americans would rather walk as well. 1/3 of the Americans do not drive because of disabilities or age, the reduced oil demand, and mitigate impacts on climate change. Fewer kids are walking to school. You can see in 1969, 48% of the kids walked to school. In 2001, only 15%. And that just keeps on going down year after year after year. And most of the reasons why they're not walking is because they don't have the facilities. I mean, I live in Orange. I'm less than a quarter mile from Peck Place School, and my kids had to be picked up by a bus to get to school. They would not let my kids walk or take their bike. So that's a problem. We need the kids to get out there and walk more. And if we do this, will people in Stratford walk more and bike more? Well, the national trend is telling us, yes, they will. So if you make the facilities proper, we'll be able to get people out there walking, biking, using multi-modes of transportation. And it's not that we're trying to get cars off the road, it's just we just need to balance it a little bit better. Some of the pedestrian facilities we'll be looking at are sidewalks, intersection treatments, shared use paths, so you have bikes and people walking together, and then of course signs and markings. Some of these facilities are pretty simple. They could be just little signs like you see here, and just to let people know that pedestrians will be crossing here. It just kind of slows that traffic down. And then in long term, we really want to put a facility there that people will use in the long term. Low cost stuff we'll look at as well, which is just paint. Slow down, 25 miles per hour, stop signs, boulder, crosswalks, more signage just to keep people aware of what's ahead of them, and including some of these smaller bollards. But the biggest thing that we need to look at is how do we remove the impediments from people so they feel comfortable walking out there, whether it's a sign in the way or a tree in the way, or it could be anything. So those are the things that we're going to be looking at. Another lower cost thing is really the modifying the traffic signal timing and phasing, so it moves people a little bit faster, so people have the patience. Sometimes you hit one of those buttons and you're going, oh my God, how long am I going to have to stand here? And you don't want to wait. So we want to make sure that people are moving through, but also we've got to make sure that the cars are moving through as well. New traffic signals and signs and equipment will be more of a higher cost item or medium cost. So we got to take a look at all those things when we're looking at your downtown. And of course, the long-term improvements, new sidewalks, crossings, ADA accessibility, bike facilities on the street or paths off the street, better bus stops, and of course, traffic calming. And one of the things that we always like to talk about is what happened when we started building roads and highways and stuff. We forgot about the human nature of the street, and it was really about emphasis on capacity and efficiency and moving cars as fast as we can. And it really changed the way we feel and use streets. It took the pedestrians right out of it. So the character and the size of the road really dictates the urban environment. So you can see on this one, this poor little guy is trying to cross that street. And you know that's just not a safe condition. Thank God you don't have that condition in your town. You might have some. Also, the traffic calming really comes down to safety. We know that if someone's going 20 miles per hour, the chance of someone dying from a collision is less than 10%. If you start going up to 40%, the chance of you dying is much higher. Did you have a question? No? I thought you were raising your hand. That's right. Even USA Today, back in 2003, put out an article about how the way we design our cities and suburbs are bad for our health. So we got to take that into consideration as we move forward and looking at your downtown. And this is a little diagram of what we've been seeing because people aren't getting out and moving. We're seeing the obesity levels in kids just increasing year after year after year. I was down in Washington, D.C., lobbying for some money for complete streets, and I was with Senator Lieberman at the time, and I took this one. It was in his right in his lobby, and I went in there, met with him, I threw it on the table, and he goes, "What's this? That has nothing to do with landscape architecture or what you're here to talk about." I said, "Actually, it has everything to do about it." So this is the message that we want to keep on bringing up, is we want the people to get out there and move. And even the paradigm shift with public health research is showing how we design our towns and cities really does affect our public health. So the cure is complete streets. And how do we do that? We're going to look at how the context sensitivity is, how it's connected through your downtown, the different zones around the town, and the streets beyond the travel lanes. So we're looking beyond those curbs and see how that all comes together. And a lot of things that we start looking at is, what is the type of street we're looking at? Is it a boulevard or an avenue, a local street, an alley? And how those different sized streets come into play when we're looking at your downtown and how we're going to design it. When we start looking at what a typical cross-section is, back in the day when we looked at roads, we only looked at this curb-to-curb cross-section, and nobody cared about anything else. Just get those cars moving down back and forth. The way we like to look at streets is from facade to facade and really see what components can be included into that street so it can really become a special place for the community. So when we start talking about this stuff in our workshop in a few weeks, we're going to be looking at the boulevards, the travel lanes, the bike lanes, the parking lanes, the furniture zones, and the sidewalks themselves, and how did that all come into play and work together to change the character of your community. Some of those elements beyond the curb is the furnishing zone, where you might have outdoor cafes, how people are moving through that pedestrian space. So we'll look at the frontage. This is the gap from the building itself, where the door is opening out into the sidewalk, and how that can be designed. In some cases, you may be able to get some outdoor seating, dining, and gathering spaces. It could be public art. There's a lot of things you can do within that space that really can change the character of your community. The throughway zone is where people are walking. You really want that to be at least 6 feet, but out to 10 feet is very comfortable for people to walk side by side walking down the street. So we'll take a really careful look on how that works in your downtown, in our project area. The furnishing zones, where people can sit and talk and socialize, where some trees can go, all types of site amenities can come into that, art, landscaping. The edge zone, how that edge from the curb back is there parking meters there? Is there bike racks there? And how does that all come into play when we're designing a complete street? We'll even look at some parking and how parking is going to work in the downtown, whether it's parallel parking, angled parking. Some communities are going crazy doing back-in reverse parking, and I know people don't like that up here, but they are doing it in other communities around the country. So those are types of things that we'll be studying when we look at this. And then the bike facilities themselves. There's a number of ways we can handle bikes. One is a share road, which you're sharing the road with the vehicles themselves. Usually you want a pretty slow-moving traffic lane there, less than 25 miles per hour. Bike lanes themselves, which are 5 to 6 feet. We would also look at a buffered cycle track or buffered bike lane, which you'd have a dedicated bike lane with a 3-foot buffer in between. And then the other is a shared use or off-road facility like you see in this picture. So we'll start looking at all these different elements and how these all come together so we can see how your streets come together. We'll look at mid-block crossings. The big caveat with these can be very dangerous if the site visibility isn't there. So we'll be looking at them, but we'll be very careful on if we're going to recommend them and why and how that's going to work. medians. You have some medians out here now. How do they work within the downtown? Can we enhance them anyway? And how they're functioning now. So there's a lot of things that we can do with them, including low-impact development techniques, which is green infrastructure. So we're going to see if we can take care of some of your stormwater issues right within the street and in the sidewalk itself. So there's lots of techniques that we can do there. And the interesting thing about doing these types of projects is that there's not a one fix for your entire downtown. So we're going to have to mix and match and come up cleverly with how we're going to actually put this puzzle together. We'll also look at things that are as crazy as shared streets, where it's pedestrian dominated and cars, bikes, and people are all mingling on that same level. This happens to be in Dublin, Ireland. It works successfully over out in Europe, but it's still being done in the United States. This is the University of Wisconsin in Madison, where they're sharing the streets with people, cars, bikes, and food trucks. Then to bring character to your community, we start looking at the details. What type of pavements are we going to use out there? Can we bring some interest in there? Can it be some public art in there? Can it be different paving patterns, just to change it up a little bit so you have something interesting to look at? When you're walking down a street, you're going about 3 miles an hour, and if you don't have something of interest in every 40 feet, you lose interest in the street. So we've got to start thinking about how do we keep people moving down the street. We'll look at site furnishings, whether it's banners or welcome signs, bike racks, bollards, kiosks, all types of things to really start bringing the character in there, as well as the landscaping and plantings and how that works all together. There's always an opportunity space in these projects where it's a little leftover space. It's kind of boring right now, but we can change into something special. Some of you guys might recognize this. It's the Washington Bridge on the Devon side. That's a project I designed a few years back. This is a little project in Norfolk, Connecticut that I designed. These were all little leftover spaces that we were able to do these little pocket parks to bring some extra character to the downtown. And of course, local art is so important. We really want to get the local artists out here to bring some special character out there and get it exciting. We have opportunities underneath the bridges for some murals, which would be really exciting to get the local artists going. So there's tons of things that we'll be looking at when we start doing our workshop and make some recommendations for you guys. And of course, these are great streets. Big streets, whether it's in Chicago like this one, Minneapolis. Once you get that character and people are using it, it can change the dynamic of a whole downtown, and people will start walking more, biking more, and using the outside. So that's what we're really getting excited about doing. Now I'm going to have Liz come up here because we do need your help on some stuff. And she's going to explain the technical stuff because I'm old and I don't understand technical stuff.
But it's easy to use. So, yeah, so like Tom said, we want your input. In a couple weeks, we're going to have in-person public workshop. But in the meantime, and after that as well, we have created a website that allows you to go online and contribute information about your downtown. Streets that you like, streets that are great for biking and walking, but also areas that you see are problematic, maybe an intersection that's difficult to cross, a road that you don't feel comfortable walking or biking on, and any other problems that you're noticing with the roads and the streetscape within the downtown area of Stratford. So the website URL is right here at the bottom of the map, and after we're kind of done with the presentation, anybody that wants to hang around, I'll go through a live demo of just how to use the website. It's really simple. And the URL is also on the town's planning and zoning page, so you can access it right through the town's website. And it's also on the town's Facebook page as well. And then, as Tom mentioned, at the end of April, so the week after Memorial Day weekend, we're going to have a 4-day-long workshop here in Stratford. The first day, we'll have a public meeting in the evening to let you guys know kind of what we're thinking, information that we've kind of discovered, some analysis that we've put together, and then over the next couple of days, we'll have an open studio where we'll be here designing, working on your streetscape. Everyone is welcome to come in, contribute ideas, pick up a marker and draw as well, and on the final day, we'll present to the public again in more of a meeting format all of the different design alternatives that we've come up with over that kind of 4-day intensive designing process.
Thanks, Liz.
Yeah.
And the important thing that we want to stress here is that we want your input. We want you to be part of this design. We want you to come in and talk to us and tell us the goods, the bads, the uglies of what you're seeing and experiencing as residents. It's great that I'm from this area. I'm going to be bringing experts in from our Durham office and also down in our Davidson office who specialize in complete streets. And they do work all over the country like I do, but it'll be the first time that they ever come here and see Stratford, Connecticut. And so it gives us a new perspective on what outsiders are seeing, which I think is important because I think I'm a little bit too close sometimes when I'm in a neighboring community. So it's good to have that outside perspective. So in summary, we're going to focus at the first thing, the easy stuff to implement at low cost. So maybe we can do some trials. We may do some just testing if a bike lane will actually work. We'll do maybe a weekend. We can go out there and stripe it out and see if people enjoy it. We'll identify the long-term solutions and treat the streets as public, not just transportation corridors. I think that's a big thing that we're learning now is it's just not about moving vehicles. It's about moving people as well. And again, I put that quote up. What's going on? Ready to connect. Okay, well, let's see if I can do this. Technology, it's great. Okay. I wanted to show you a few really cool complete streets, but I'm getting close to the end of our presentation anyway, but let's see if I can get it going again. So that's our refresher course that I'm going through now. Okay, this is a project we're doing down in Germantown, just outside of Memphis. This is the existing street that we had out there. It's a nice, quaint little downtown. Then what a complete street might look like out there, that's our proposal. So you can see how it just changes the character of the downtown. It makes it a little bit nicer for people to walk and get across the street. This was a 5-lane to 3-lane conversion that was done just outside of St. Louis. So we took this huge street and we narrowed it right down to the 3 lanes, put in bike lanes as well. This is a street in Denton, which is a festival street. It happens to be part of their art district that we are converting over to a nice connection from 2 of the main corridors, and it becomes more of a pedestrian path walking through it. And in certain times of the year, they can close it off and use it as a public space. This is a project in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where the width of the road was 84 feet across. We narrowed it down to 2 lanes of traffic, center median, bike lanes, and green infrastructure and parking on both sides. So that has just been completed, at least phase 1 of that's been completed. And then down in El Paso Street in Russellville. We took a path that went from the university to the main street. We put in new sidewalks, dedicated bike lanes on both sides, and we won the quality of life down there project. So there's a lot of things that can happen on these streets, and we're excited to be here and working with you guys on it. And that pretty much ends our presentation. And open up for questions if anybody's got any. Sorry about the technology. Yes, sir.
I noticed that in the presentation that you've not done or discussed anything about public transportation. You talk about walking, but you're not dealing with weather at all. We have weather problems here in Stratford, as you know, living in Orange.
Yep.
A lot of the traffic, particularly in weather situations, comes from the fact that people get off the trains and they have no ability by which to get home except to get picked up at the train station.
Yep.
So you have an enormous problem in weather when people need to get picked up and can't walk home or walk to other areas. So we don't have anything, and I've suggested this a number of times, of a trolley or jitney concept where we could get people from Ferry Boulevard, for instance, to Paradise Green, coordinated with the railroad schedule.
Sure.
So people can get in the jitney and pay a buck and then get home and not have cars come down and pick them up. So about that situation.
Well, we definitely are working with Greater Bridgeport Transit and understanding what their routes are, their schedules, and how we may have to adjust that. But your suggestion of a trolley is a great one. Nothing's off the...
Trolleys are, the problem with trolleys is that they're expensive. They're $445,000.
Right.
And then they cost a lot of money if
To
there's
run.
any kind of problem.
Right.
But there is jitneys, and I've seen them all over Stratford lately. Done by Bridgeport Transit District. So a partnership between us and the Bridgeport Transit District is something that I think that we should study fairly intently.
Yep.
In terms of that. The other thing is that you've got, in this conversation, you've got, let me try and say this politely, you've got a neighborhood up in arms. And the neighborhood that is up in arms is the historic district in Stratford. And part of it has to do with the threat of a 700 space garage on Sutton Avenue. And there is a lot of deep concern within the community about the building of tearing down that school and creating a parking lot of the size that's being suggested. So you're coming in, and these are things all look nice, and I know we're all going to get into a conversation about it. But you've got a town that has all its antennae up about what's going down in the TOD, and the community itself. You're responding and saying, okay, we can do all kinds of things, all kinds of streets, and that's great. But number one, you didn't talk cost and where the money is going to come from to make these kinds of changes. And the second thing
I think we're a little premature on cost.
yeah, no, okay, but you know, you present a plan, and we have to look at costs and where the money is going to come.
That's...
And I know it's premature. The more important thing is that you've got a town that has its antennae up about the TOD. They're very concerned about what's going on with Center School and that parking lot. And, you know, the town seems to be, maybe appropriately, but the town seems to be really pushing that issue on Center School. Now you say, okay, you're going to walk. There's other areas in town where you can put.
Yeah, well, I will tell you this, because you're getting way into the weeds on this one. This is an informational meeting. We are going to be here for that week, and we're going to study everything. So nothing's off the table.
I'm just raising issues that I think that you need to be aware of.
I appreciate that.
One I think that's most important
Understood. Sir?
Yes, I absolutely love complete streets. I follow them for years.
Thank you.
Welcome you to Stratford.
Appreciate that.
I ride my bike. I'm a biker.
Great.
I put my bike on my car from the center of Stratford to bring it down into the middle of Stratford.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I hope that you will think about, and I know towns have considered it as part of their plans, is that we won't be helped as much as we could be if we are really thinking within that half-mile region.
Right.
If we don't have connecting paths and
Yeah.
put that part of our planning, then you're not going to have the feeder traffic that's going to come down from the north, which is
Right.
three-quarters of our population.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure you're aware of this. Milford has multiple pods
Yep.
with connecting linkage.
Right.
through. I think that is a model that fits Stratford a lot better. I understand you can only start one project
Yeah.
at a time.
And we'll look globally when we do but then we'll focus on our project area. But we'll definitely look at that.
But incremental little short pieces of pathways and bike lanes don't do it for people who really want to get good exercise.
Yep, understood.
That's the only thing that I would say that needs to be part of the discussion. And I will
Come down there and help us out.
and help you out.
Yep, yes, ma'am.
Would you please go back to the Lincoln Boulevard Bridgeport project and expand on it, please? Since that's a lot closer for us to go look at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's
so
Central
there's
High
the
School, is that
boulevard.
Central High School, yeah.
So, could you expand on it? What is presently there? What is it going to have?
Okay, this is the 84 feet across, and it's one lane going down and back. It's a two-lane road.
And what kind of a neighborhood is it?
It's a residential neighborhood.
Residential, okay.
Yep, and it connects the Central High School to,
There's a school there. So
that's correct. This is actually where they do the staging for their parades and stuff as well. So what we came up with was a cross-section that narrowed the road down, added bike lanes on each side, and then put a rather large central boulevard in the center, which is kind of a linear park. You can see from the sketch here, we did some rain gardens and some pervious pavements as well. And what's out there now, here's Central High School. They've got it done up to about here. They've got the center median in and narrowed the roads down at this point. I'm not sure if they've put in the bike lanes yet, but I was there last spring, so I'm not sure.
Does this connect up to the Housatonic? I mean, not the Greenway?
It does not.
It doesn't.
No, this was just, I forgot what that cross street is. Is that Lincoln Street? Lincoln Avenue, and this is Lincoln Boulevard. So it was just a small piece, but it was just trying to get the residents and the kids able to walk from their houses down that street relatively safely. I'm sorry, this gentleman, then we'll go right over to you.
Can you tell us what your engagement is with Stratford and the timelines that you hope to accomplish your work?
Yeah, well, the workshop is going to be at the end of next month. And right now what we're doing is our initial investigation. We're doing audits of all the streets. We're walking around, seeing if you have ADA accessibility, pushing the push buttons, make sure you have that working, and kind of getting an inventory of what the street trees are like and the quality is. Then we're just going to put that in. We're doing the analysis with the Greater Bridgeport Transit Authority, find out what their future needs are and what their expansion is and what they have existing. What's the need for bus shelters out there, frequency of ridership. That all comes into play. We'll have that all gathered, and then we'll meet here and start with the design team, walk the entire area with the town officials. That evening, we'll do kind of a public opening of the design workshop and say, this is what we found, you tell us more. And then the next 2 days, we'll be there designing. And it's pretty much an open door, so people can walk in and say, hey, I've got this idea, or I got this problem area, can you address it? I don't like the TOD, I don't like this, which is all good to hear. And then from there, we'll come up with some recommendations, and we'll present that on our last night. And get more input from you all, and then we will formulate our recommendations based on that and put the report together with cost estimates and make a recommendation to the town to say, here's your first phase that we think you should do. And hopefully, I'm not sure if there's money in place or if it's going to be in place, but there might be a phase one right off the bat. So,
And when do you think that report would, the best scenario?
I would say it's probably September, October.
So it's not 2 years from now.
No, God, no. Can't make money on that. Sure.
Have you done any preliminary overview of the town? You get sort of like a layout of the town already, so you know what you're dealing with before you're going in?
Well, yeah, we've done a little bit of the mapping already. We've got our major corridors already plotted out. They're like 9 feet long. They're over there. I don't know if you were here, but I grew up in Milford. Andy grew up in Milford. So a lot of us know the town pretty well. The street audits that we're doing, Liz has been doing those with me. So she's starting to get to know the downtown a little bit more. So we're really starting to get our heads into the game here.
Well, I think that if you're taking a look at it, but I think the way I've seen it is my understanding of these projects is that basically you have two sort of approaches to this. A corridor type situation where you're subdividing, or what you call like an intermodal network. For the most part, with what we're dealing with, I think you have to throw the corridor aspect out of it because most of the streets have already been narrowed down pretty far, especially when you're dealing with straight downtown from the flagpole to the viaduct, the railroad overpass over there. You're talking about very narrow situations. Most of the diagrams, most of the pictures, most of the things you've been dealing with here deal with taking large 60, 80, 90-foot roads and breaking them down into corridors. I don't think you can do that with a lot of the streets. So I think if you have to focus more on the intermodal networks, putting things together, that would be the approach here. And I guess what I'm saying is basically we have a town that's one of the oldest in the state. And it's very fragmented with the infrastructure.
Yep.
The lots are not deep. They're very they're cut up. The old East Broadway was the original Route 1 going through. And you're going to have a lot of those things to deal with.
Yep.
They're pretty much, would there be a situation where you'd have to actually cut back into properties to make some of these things happen?
We will see, but we try not to. But then we deal with property owners and see where it goes from there. But you're right. We don't look at just corridors. You can't. You have to look at the big picture.
Main Street funneling down pretty much you got two, going both directions, 2 lanes, and then funnel into the center.
Yep.
You're not going to move I-95.
Nope.
You're not going to move the trestle
No,
overpass.
but right out here, you got a pretty wide cross section, and the right of way is even larger. So there's some pretty good opportunity out there just from our first look. You had a question.
A couple of workshops. What are the dates to get to those workshops?
They are
May 31st, April 2nd, or
3rd, April 3rd, June 3rd, and it's going to be at the community center.
It's at the Baldwin Center.
Baldwin Center, sorry.
That was to June 3rd at the Baldwin Center.
Correct.
Okay. You said that you're going to be walking the plane with town officials.
Mhm.
Will that include, will you be walking with the property owners?
I guess we could. It wouldn't hurt. But what we try to do is get the city engineer, public works, people like that first, and then open that up for the public to come to the to our first kickoff meeting, and then the open session. So if someone has questions, we can peel off someone and they can go for a walk with someone. That's fine with us.
And finally, follow up to Kaz's question. With dealing with, how do you deal with property owners? You said how to deal with, what does that mean?
Well, you would have to see where the property lines are, where people think their property line is versus where it really is, and see if we need to encroach on it or not. And right now, I couldn't tell you if we're going to or not.
Okay, and final projects that you have completed,
Mhm.
I mean, this is the design phase. Projects you have completed in those communities, how were they paid? How was it paid? How was it paid for?
Lots of different ways. Sometimes the steep funds from the states, Tiger grants are another way. Some of the money comes, it comes from all different ways, and we'll work really closely with the town in figuring out what kind of funds will be coming in and filtering in. If we get to a point where our designs are shovel ready and Tiger grants are still around, we'll apply for Tiger grants.
Did any towns pitch in their own revenues?
Sure.
And what percentage?
Oh, I don't know. That varies widely. Okay, I'm going to go with the guy with the red hat first.
So as part of the study, I have kind of a two-part question. As part of the study, is there any measurement of the volume of pedestrians going through this area as part of the study, or is it just going to be kind of an impression?
Well, we're definitely doing traffic volumes, but the wiki maps that Liz talked about, we're hoping that you guys go out there and say, hey, we are commuting, we are walking, and what the frequency is.
There's not going to be any sort of scientific measurement of pedestrians per hour, bikes
No.
per hour, anything like that, right?
No, we don't have that ability.
Okay, all right. And, so then as far as kind of related to that, is, this is about the transit-oriented development. There is going to be a lot more volume, both in people and cars, coming up in the next couple of years.
Mhm.
So how do you factor that in, to your plans? We're not working with today. We've got to be planning for,
Yeah.
the end game,
Well,
where a lot of this
That's,
development is already happening.
that's our standard projections that we factor in for growth, and we know what properties can be residential, what can be something else, and we put that into our models and see where that goes. So,
And then just finally, I totally appreciate the streets part of it, and the walking, and the biking. I live in the area,
Mhm.
so, I really appreciate that. But the traffic situation also is going to be very important, so I want to understand how much emphasis this study is going to go into managing the coming increase in car traffic, as well as, the life benefit of
Yep.
complete streets.
yeah, well, we do have all the traffic volumes already, and so that will go into our model. We have a traffic engineer who will be using Synchro to figure out what that's going to be now and what it's going to project out to be, and then what measures will we have to make on those streets to make it for the future.
So is it within your scope of your project to change the traffic flow to I-95? And recommend, significant changes on how traffic flow goes? Is that within the scope of the project?
Locally, yes, but not on 95.
Just towards it. How
Oh,
we
yeah.
funnel people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely take that into account. We'll go back here, then back over to you.
Complete Streets, my understanding, I'm reading your reports for this year's, your annual report this year of cities that have adopted the Clean Streets policy.
Mhm.
I know Fairfield has just done that this past year. Bridgeport's coming a long way towards doing it. Fairfield is also doing it. West Hartford did it completely over renovating all of their zoning and their planning and their transportation
Mhm.
policies.
Yep.
Are you suggesting that will be one of the outcomes of this, or are you taking this as a standalone project within the half-mile radius?
If we feel that there's a need for a complete street policy that needs to be passed, and the town says, Tom, we want you to do that, then we will take it that far. And I did work on the West Hartford
That's excellent.
stuff as well.
I'm so impressed with that.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of gather stuff and get a better understanding and make recommendations. Our first recommendation.
I don't mean to put you on the spot,
Yep.
but do you suggest a complete town approach versus a standalone approach?
It would probably be in the best interest if the town adopts some type of complete streets policy.
And are you looking back into current planning that we've done? We have proposed bike routes all
Yeah,
over town.
yep, we're digging into them.
You're incorporating all of that
Yes.
into what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess at the end of the day, what you're looking for is basically to make this more of a walkability situation and bicycling situation. I mean,
Right.
The route I take is, you know, it's a left, it's a right, it's.
Yeah.
But if you take a look around this area, there's a lot of town-owned property along the Stratford Highway where you have these routes that connect King Street, right?
Mhm.
To Barton Avenue. They'll take it.
Yep.
They'll take it on a straight path through,
Mhm.
and I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we look for everything to kind of weave a nice network of paths through there. And we want the cars to be able to move through safely and at a speed where everybody can get along together. It's really, how do you balance this whole thing? Right.
Giving you more options, getting
Mhm.
more people walking.
Yep.
And,
If we get more ridership on buses, that's great. So we look at all that. Yes, ma'am.
Are you working with the architects who are doing Stratford High School's renovations,
No.
which empties out onto Main Street? I also understand that they're talking about decreasing the width of King Street.
Yes.
These are all
We're working.
streets that connect out of the DO.
We're not working directly with them, but we're working with the city engineer and Jay, the town planner, to figure out what, all this information, what's going on, what are the state projects going on, what does the town have going on, and how does that all blend together when we go forward? Because if they put the new on-ramp to I-95, then there might be money to fill, feed part of this project as well. So we're going to be looking at everything. Anything else?
In your other projects, especially when you deal with the intermodal in downtown, you do put a lot of emphasis on lighting because you're going to be taking walkways that basically, for 6 months out of the year at 5 o'clock,
It's dark.
pitch black here.
Yeah.
You want them to be able to walk down to the center of town.
Yep.
Okay, the restaurants, et cetera, like
Yep.
that. So lighting is a big.
Yeah, we do that, and if we start getting close to residential, we like the direct cutoff and all those types of things. So we take that into consideration. It's part of that next element of a downtown is making it four-season, not all night, but good portion of the night, so people feel comfortable and safe walking. Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea how much of this will entail? We are, like every town on Long Island Sound, are charged with dewatering our storm systems.
Yep.
How much of this practically could get funded through those kind of projects?
There's a lot of money coming from Land and Water Conservation Fund to separate the water, stormwater from the combined sewer systems.
That's separate, but now we
Yep.
need to do something.
But we can, while we do this planning, one of my strengths in my background is green infrastructure. So as much as that I can incorporate into these plans, the better. We did a lot of work in Bridgeport on that, and we're doing it all across the country because we're seeing every little bit of water that we can save from going to the sewage treatment plant is saving the town hundreds of millions of dollars. So we will definitely be looking at that. Anything else?
How are you marketing the availability of the website where people can go and make comments?
We have it on the, go ahead,
It
Jay.
literally just went up today. We didn't want to release it prior to
Yeah.
Alta's presentation tonight. So putting it up on Facebook, we're reaching out to all the different planning commissions, town council, anyone that we know that's community activists. We're active on social media. Found that to be the best way to reach out to the community. But we're always looking for more suggestions. We want as many people, more contributions we can get, the better it's going to reflect the Stratford that we want.
And we could have Liz give you just a sample of how that can work if you'd like.
And also, I know a lot of you came in a little bit later, but there's a sign-in sheet, and if you include your email, I can also just send out the URL to everyone that's here so you have it in your email.
Yep.
Liz,
Yeah.
our town is getting very good at creating issue Facebook pages. So if there's a way that we could do something like that for this project, I think that would be an excellent idea.
Yes, ma'am.
I saw a flyer today to come to this, but are you the only group that is doing this, or how did you get chosen to do this project?
How do we get chosen? Town put out an RFP, we submitted on it, and our qualifications rose to the top, and gave them a proposal, the amount, and they liked it, and our scope of services and our approach, and they selected us. So the good thing about what we are as Alta is I'm local, Andy's local, a lot of people are local here in Connecticut, but we have a national reach, and we can bring experts in from everywhere. And then a lot of communities like that.
When you take 5 lanes and narrow them down to 3, what happens with that? What's your experience?
Well, first we do a good analysis of the traffic. The question is, when you take 5 lanes of traffic and bring it down to 3, how do you do that without causing more problems, right? Basically. And what we do is we do an analysis of the existing current conditions, how much volume is actually going through there, and we run it through a computer program that tells us if we narrow those lanes, can it be more efficient getting cars in and out of that without the higher speeds? Because if you go slower speeds and tighter to each other's bumper, you can get more cars through a corridor than 50 miles an hour in wide streets. So you take that into consideration. What are the turning movements? How do you give someone a left-hand turn to get out of that movement, or a dedicated right-hand turn lane? And there's all kinds of engineering tricks, which I'm not an engineer, I'm a landscape architect, so I let my engineers deal with that kind of stuff. And they make me look good. Are you hooked up? Yes, you can. Oh.
Okay. That looks a little better.
Okay, we got a better
Okay.
system now.
So this is, whenever you go to the website, the first thing it's going to provide is just an overview of what the project is. And then it's going to ask you to sign in with your email address, and that's just going to help us kind of keep track of how many comments that we're getting. We can provide project updates through it. You can also view the map anonymously, but you're only going to be able to submit feedback if you log in with your email address. But once you log in once, it should remember you. You shouldn't have to do it every single time. Oh, yay. And then there will be just a really quick login survey, and it's just some very basic information about kind of who you are. Once you fill it out, if you come back to the website again, it's not going to ask you to answer these questions. So, whoa, interesting. And then I'm a visitor. All right, and then we'll continue to the map. So there's a brief instructions along the top. I have my email here in the bottom right corner. If you ever have questions, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll respond as quickly as possible. And we have 2 places where you can submit information. You can either add a route, and when you click on the add routes, there's a couple different options. You can log your commute. You can kind of trace areas that feel unsafe for walking, for biking, for skating, for anything, really. You can note where you currently walk, where you currently bike, how you currently use the streets, and areas also that you would like to walk on, would like to walk, would like to bike, connections that you'd like made, but maybe they just don't feel comfortable right now. So let's say if we click my commute, you're going to have the option to essentially just draw your route. And if we went down here to the train station, whoa, sorry. It's a little hard watching this. There we go. Oh man, ran in this mouse.
It's easier on a computer.
It is.
Much easier. I did it today.
And then just double click when you're finished, or click the very last point that you drew, and you're just going to get a quick survey. So we just want to know, on that commute, are you walking? Are you biking? Are you using public transport? Are you using a combination of things? You can check all of the different boxes that apply. Let us know really quickly why you're commuting. Is it for work, for errands? And then approximately how long is your commute taking? And then you'd hit submit, and that information will get logged. Your route will stay on the map. Other people can see it. And then I'm just going to hit cancel. And that's the same process for walking, same process for areas where you feel unsafe. You'll draw your route, click the last point, and then fill out a really quick survey that just explains a little bit of information about that route and that data that you submitted.
And you can do multiple things. You can do your commute. You can do, I walked here today. I took my bike there today. Whatever you want to put in there is all good. So go back as many times as you want.
And then the other area where you can add information, we're just calling adding points. So right now there's 3 categories of points that you can place on the map, noting areas within Stratford that are destinations, places that you want to go to. Areas that are opportunities for improvement. So kind of like Tom was talking about, maybe leftover spaces that aren't being utilized like they could be, or could have an amenity added to them that would really improve them. And then also areas that are problem areas. So you can just drop a dot where you see any kind of problem. So if we chose problem area, and let's just say we dropped it on this intersection. Again, you'll just get a really quick kind of dialog box that asks you to describe what that problem is so that we have a better understanding. And all of these dialog boxes give you an option to upload a photo. So if you want to take a picture that illustrates what the issue is that you're describing, you can upload it right here. It will log it with your comment and with the data that you've submitted on the map. And then you can hit submit, and we'll get all of that information. So, yeah.
Is it possible to overlay some of this? Could you add in all of our existing bike lanes, or designated bike lanes?
We will be doing that for the workshop, but not on,
Can't do it here.
no.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to do it, and also we're just kind of keep this as a clean slate and get your thoughts and ideas, and then we'll incorporate all of that with our existing information that we have.
Can we do a little video that would be available to people?
Oh, about like how to use it. So right now, it's kind of explained here in number 4, but under About and Help, when you click Instructions, there's a 30-second video that walks you through how to use the different functionality. It's not specific to our project, but it's the same idea. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned about clicking destinations. I mean, this is not only all about walking and biking to the downtown, it's also biking to the downtown, to the library, to the mall,
Exactly.
Hill to
Paradise
those
Green,
places.
sure.
Right.
Because I guess Hartford is taking a page out of your book in West Hartford. They're trying to tie together all their cultural
Yep.
assets all into one walking.
Yeah, you do have a pretty
Let's see.
big map here that you can do that.
Yeah, I mean,
We're gonna have to limit what we do, but it'd be nice to know that people want to go to Booth Park or
and right.
Short Beach or wherever, but it's all good. The marinas, Knapp's Landing.
And so right now, too, there's a dialogue box for you to kind of explain what that destination is, so it doesn't have to be any kind of specific destination. It's as you define your destination.
Everything's public, right? Like everything
Yep.
that gets put is totally public for everybody.
Yep.
Right. Anybody else have questions?
Well, we hope you use the tool.
Yes,
The
please.
more we get, the better it's going to be for us. Like I said, the good, bads, and the uglies, we want to know. Yep.
Are you only looking within the half-mile radius?
No.
So anywhere within the town borders?
Yeah. It's not going to hurt us. I mean, we'll eventually synthesize all that down to our project area, but it's good to know people are going here and how are we in a future connect them. So that's all good information. There are some cookies up here too, if anybody wants any. But if you got any questions, feel free to contact us. Jay can get us. We don't have any handouts.
Okay, because I saw this gentleman has.
These were all around town. These were at,
Yeah. And if you log on to this, you have Liz's email here, so you can email us. Thank you.